Today's guest on Off Script is Cooper Barkate. Cooper is a star receiver at the University of Miami and has had an unconventional route to college football success. Out of high school, he surprised many by choosing Harvard over schools such as Oregon, Notre Dame, and UCLA, but he made this decision with a well-thought-out plan. Cooper redshirted his freshman season at Harvard and managed to graduate in 3 years, giving him 2 years of eligibility to use at a bigger school. He then grad transferred to Duke, had a breakout season at the Power 4 level, and made the decision to transfer to Miami for his final collegiate season. In this episode, Cooper breaks down how delaying short-term gratification and unrelenting trust in himself has led him to having a career athletes would dream to have. This is a must-watch episode, so with that being said, let's get into it.
I'm a guy that really, throughout high school, especially recruiting, I really prioritize my long-term success over my short-term football success. I honestly can't even say that playing in the NFL was a dream of mine as a kid. It was something that was, I think, just too unattainable for me as a kid. Growing up, I didn't really think that was possible, so I didn't really dream of it. Now it definitely is, but in high school, it's just such a large feat to go through college football and then make it to the NFL. So I really wanted to become successful my entire life, not just in my early 20s and playing big-time college football.
Were you like a late bloomer with football, or was it just like what's the deal there?
Definitely, yeah. I don't think I hit puberty in probably till freshman year. I was maybe a $130 going into freshman year. Yeah, I was a lacrosse player, really, all middle school leading up to freshman, sophomore year, and then I got a football offer, and then I said, I'm going to keep doing this.
End of senior year, you're sitting here with some of the best schools in the country offering you. Usually you see a kid with an offer to Notre Dame, and you're like, all right, Notre Dame's a great academic institution, and it plays big-time football. Let's go to Notre Dame. Why, even over some of these bigger academic institutions, was Harvard the one?
So I think going to Mater Dei had a little bit of a role in that, playing. It was essentially like a small college experience. I know that the fans or the stands probably weren't as much on a game day, but we'd still have 10,000, 12,000 at home games. So I think maybe getting that experience satisfied my itch a little bit for playing big time college football. So that probably subconsciously went into my decision. But schools like Notre Dame, I heard, especially Stanford as well, I heard that I had a cousin that went to Stanford without athletics, just regularly, and he told me that the student body doesn't really like the football players because you can get into Stanford with a 2.9 GPA or 3.0 GPA, and you can just be a football player. In the Ivy League, if you're a football player, you still have to be a student, and every kid is worthy of being there. So I was like, well, why would I go to a place like Notre Dame? And also, you take the risk of, I don't think I would play freshman year being a 6-foot white receiver. Probably don't maybe play a little bit sophomore year, and then they might get a transfer, or you could have a couple of kids in your class that are really good. There are a lot of things in my mind that were out of my control at those spots versus at Harvard. I more so knew what I was getting, and I knew that my fate was in my own hands, which I liked. And that definitely drew me to it, I think.
NIL existed already at the time, right?
It did not. My freshman year, after, I guess my freshman year was the first year of NIL, but I was already committed.
Now tell me this. I'm interested to hear now. Do you think that would have kind of changed your decision-making process?
I really don't think it was, because honestly, right when I got to my mid-season, my freshman year, I didn't really consider transferring, but there was a slight, because all my friends from Mater Dei were all at big schools, and in the Ivy League you don't really get special privileges or special housing or anything, and all my friends were getting NIL and the experience of college football, or the height of it, the beginning of freshman year. So there was a thought in the back of my mind, and I talked to my parents. I was like, should I go? But then I even realized I don't think it'd have to be a really substantial amount of money for me to turn down a Harvard degree or a Yale degree or an Ivy League degree. For me to, especially since I was already in the school, if I'm getting even 75 or 100K from, an Arkansas or something like that, one, that's not, speaking from now being on the other side of the fence and being at one of these big time schools, if you're getting anything less than 400, 500K from these big schools as a freshman, that means they don't honestly value that much. Those are the kids that are going to come in and play. So if you're not even going to come in and play freshman or sophomore year, why don't you just go to Harvard or an Ivy League school or a good academic school, and then play 3 or 3.5 years and then go on and get that check and then be a starter at these big schools?
That's a really interesting perspective. I know money and how much money a school is paying you kind of shows how much they value you. Mm-hmm. And you're saying, and from your experience, that threshold is that high.
Definitely, I would say at the bigger schools. At Duke per se, I think that was more like 100K or 80K. which I think is more reasonable, to be honest. Like some, it's just ridiculous because they're getting
Yeah.
that much money. But honestly, one thing that I did see that I would never have thought of that some of the viewers might find interesting is last year at Duke, the scholarship receivers, they were in the range of like, 80 to 100K, and they were spending that money. And they were thinking they had plans of going after freshman season, they had plans of getting the same amount of money or more when none of them played yet. They were all scout team players on the practice, like in practice. And I thought ahead and I was warning them because I was friends with them. And I said, hey, like you came in as a freshman and there's no value and you haven't given the team any value yet. And you can't transfer because you don't have any film. So you might not want to make all these plans of like buying cars and getting apartments if you don't know you're getting that contract yet. So a lot of kids come in freshman year and you have to pay the recruit because like a school will pay a high recruit. But then after freshman year, if they're not playing or if they're not like really going into their sophomore year, if they haven't done anything yet, that they'll take them down to zero and they won't pay them anything.
Really?
Just because I mean that freshman can't like where are you going to transfer to? Are you going to leave? Like if you go to Nebraska and you get 85K or whatever it is, and then you want to leave Nebraska, I mean, are you going to go down a tier? You probably wouldn't. You're probably just going to stay at Nebraska until you play.
Yeah.
So they don't. They're not obligated to keep paying you. Is what I'm saying.
That's interesting. I see a
Yeah.
lot of kids in the situation from what I've been seeing is transfer down. Go and that to me has been the craziest part of the transfer portal is seeing a kid go from Duke to a random FCS school just to get on the field. And I'm like, brother, you're throwing away this opportunity at a high academic school, which is why
Exactly.
part of it seems like, bro, the Ivy League is lower level football in
hmm
comparison to FBS, and if you can get recruited there, it's a safer option. Um, yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
I would agree. That's what I was going to allude to if you said that point. Where yeah, the kids that have to transfer down to a FCS program, why wouldn't you just go to an Ivy League level school and get an Ivy League degree and then transfer up from there? Or I mean, wherever you want to go, you could transfer to another FCS and get paid a little bit and just ball out at another school. But yeah, I completely agree.
You went to Harvard over some of these schools that are great academically. And usually a lot of kids are like, all right, I just want to get an offer from a school that can give me a good degree. But I guess the other facet of it, that what you just mentioned, is like the overall experience of being a student at these institutions.
hmm
So what do you think about the student experience now, being a person who's been around Duke, being around Harvard? Is there a clear difference of like, all right, like being at Harvard, I actually got the experience. Being at Duke, you're a football player.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I would say, well, one I've always like when I was a freshman at Harvard and we'd have recruits come in or I would like host official visits. I'd always ask the kid what he really wants because truly that is what it comes down to. And a lot of kids do just want to play big time football. And if that's the case, I would tell them not to go to Harvard. I would say, like, honestly, that's not the experience that you're going to get here. And I would not want to sell you on a dream just to come here if that's not your dream. For me, like I said, I really valued my long term success. And that's what I cared more about than just getting the gear and the attention on the field. But yeah, to your point, it is definitely a different quality of life. Like if even at Duke, where it's a high academic school and they definitely value academics, and you are, you have a fun social life, but you're in the facilities way more than you're out of it compared to an Ivy League school. So yeah, I would say yeah, you don't like your weekends aren't free in the off season. You like there your days consider you got to wake up every morning a lot earlier than you do at or I did at Harvard. So yeah, I would say that you're especially if you're getting paid or if you're on scholarship at these bigger schools, you're there and they remind you that you're there because they have you there and you're a football player first. So you definitely have friends and you can have a fun college experience, but at a place like Harvard and the other Ivy League schools, I I felt like it was like a petri dish of success, and there's really no bad apples, especially on the team. There's these bigger schools. There's a lot of kids that like are bad culture guys, and they kind of pull away from the culture because they're not playing or for whatever reason. But my experience at Harvard was the kids that weren't necessarily bought into the football team were more bought into doing investment banking or starting their own business, or it's just like every kid is a winner, really. You very rarely get a kid that's going to make the people around you worse,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really beneficial thing of picking a school like that. Where I mean, I'm sure at Yale that the whole team is just full of good dudes that are winners, honestly, and they're going to be winners in the long run. So I think that definitely had a definitely had an effect on me while I was there. It's just you just meet so many kids from different walks of life that you would never meet at a school like Notre Dame or Duke, just because you're going to be hanging around your football kids. And at Harvard, you can't really do that. You're going to be around the football guys, but it's just such a small social scene that you're going to meet so many more people.
Yeah. So from your perspective, a choice between Harvard and Stanford isn't a no-brainer. I think the biggest question that you're going to ask somebody is what your overall goal is.
Absolutely.
Tell me how things changed for you after sophomore year at Harvard, because obviously that's when you had your first really good season. You said NFL was a pipe dream for you coming out. You finally get to college. You have that good season going into your junior year. Did things start changing then, or when did things, I guess, start reframing in your mindset that you could make some things shake with football?
For sure. So I always had a plan. When I committed to Harvard in high school, I had the plan of going to Harvard for my undergrad, redshirting my freshman year, and then being able to have a fifth year to go play at a bigger school.
Where'd that come from? That idea, like that thought, was that something that your parents put in you? You saw it on the internet. Like, how'd you think of this kind of before college?
Honestly, don't even know. Like I was saying, my dad played at UCLA, so I grew up a UCLA fan, and I'm from Southern California, so I grew up going to those games and the Rose Bowl and like big football environment, and I dreamed of that. But then after I started getting recruited and I saw I was narrowing my options down, and I finally chose that I wanted to go to Harvard. I thought to myself, why don't I just redshirt my freshman year and then have that extra year to transfer, and then I'll be the guy that comes in and plays. Um, so I honestly think it just kind of stemmed from putting two and two together. I don't know if it really stemmed from much, but after my season, my freshman year, I had a kid. He was a running back on our team who graduated in 3 years, and I heard that from him, and I didn't even know that was possible, to
Yeah.
be honest. So he kind of laid the blueprint a little bit for
Hmm.
me and like told me how he did it and which classes he took. So after my freshman fall, the season going in my second semester, my freshman year, I loaded up on classes. I took 5 and 6 classes a semester. Yeah, at Harvard it's 4 classes usually,
That's wild.
um, and then I took some summer school classes just to get it in. But yeah, it honestly didn't. I've been very blessed how my journey's gone, and every step has seemed to be the right one so far, and I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, like my sophomore year, I really was just thinking, all right, why don't I get out of here in three, just so that I can play at a school like Duke, and get my MBA or whatever it be. It wasn't necessarily for the NFL or for football or for the NIL money or anything like that. It was more so just like if I can get a Harvard degree and a MBA or a master degree from Stanford or from SC or whatever it is, that was really where it stemmed from.
So when you go into the portal, your idea in the portal, your emphasis was getting another great degree and experience over other things, or after junior year did things completely change? Because junior year was like your best season. That's when you had 1,000 yards, you're balling. How did things
Yeah.
change then?
No, it was still, I came out of the portal and I got some love from some bigger schools like, Texas Techs and those type of schools.
Yeah.
But again, my mindset going into Duke or leaving my junior year was play the best football, be in the best football position I could have. Also, a lot of the Duke receiver room graduated or left, so there was a big opening there. But yeah, it was most important was that academic. I was able to get into Fuqua, which is the business school at Duke, and I was completing a master's program.
Is that something that like that you have to like get in on your own? Does the football coach say like you're kind
Not
of
fully on your own, but you do have to apply. Like a lot of these other programs, like a lot of these other schools, you can just, they'll just get you into whatever program you want to get in. But yeah, no, I had to apply and I had to do this whole fee, but they definitely help you for sure.
I know a lot of kids go and do like the certificates and stuff for their last year and don't really get
Yeah.
like a real degree. Your idea is I'm leaving with something. I'm not just
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure, for
I
sure.
respect that. I respect that. What? Tell me more about this. I guess the portal process for you, because I'm assuming you had some really cool options that you were choosing between. And I mean, you were just explaining a bit of why you chose Duke, and I respect it. But like, kind of back to this whole thing, a lot of kids don't think the way you do, and
Hmm.
I really wish I think more did. But how did you, round two of it? You came out of high school, NIL wasn't as big of a thing. Now NIL is in full swing. You just balled out of Harvard, probably had some big time schools in your phone. How did you once again, Duke's a great school, but at the time I think they were a fifth or sixth in the ACC,
Hmm.
weren't considered top notch college football, and you probably had some top notch options.
Like I said, it was definitely the school, like the master's degree. I wanted to get a master's degree. Like Stanford, I wasn't able to get into the business school. It's too difficult, and I'd have to do some certificate in education or something like that,
Yeah.
which didn't really interest me. Um, so yeah, it was Number one was the academics, just because, I already had Harvard, but if I could parlay somehow, I'm not the smartest dude ever. I just kind of, I got into Harvard with football, and if I could parlay, a master's degree from a respectable school, that would be all I could ask for through my college experience. But then second was definitely like the environment that I was stepping into with football. Because, coming from a smaller school or an FCS school, it is definitely a jump up to the FBS level. And I didn't want to walk into a receiver room that was stacked. And I think a lot of kids that I think this might be what you were hinting at. A lot of kids just look at the pay or the number that they're going to get from that school versus like I would so much have, and I did, but I would rather take like 200,000 at a place like Duke versus 800,000 at Alabama or a Texas or wherever it is, because if Duke gives me a better chance to go to the NFL where you're going to make multiple millions of dollars, then I would absolutely go there. Like if in my eyes, coming out of Harvard, going to a place like Texas, even if they were going to give you $500,000, was kind of like ending my career because I didn't see me stepping into Texas in 1 year and killing it and getting drafted. You know what I mean? Versus going to a Duke where maybe I'd be more the focal point and hooping there and then playing in the NFL.
Tell me your perspective on short term, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit so far. Short term money versus long term money. It seems like your ideas have always been long term money. A lot of the feedback I've been getting just through starting to make all these videos now and content is like a lot of families are like, well, a lot of kids, waiting for long term money is great, but what if it doesn't work out for you? So just take the short term money now.
For sure.
It's an interesting thing because like you've throughout this whole process, you've had just like unrelenting trust in yourself to get this thing done. But I guess the question does become like, how about those external factors that you can't control? How much do you think about those or take those into account with your decisions?
I mean, I think you kind of hit the nail. That's definitely what has driven me so far is just trust in myself in every step and really being calculated with the decision. But once you make that decision, just to go all in and trusting yourself.
Yeah.
I will say, I mean, I can't speak for everyone because I do feel like I've been fortunate enough I don't necessarily need the money right now. I didn't have family issues or I didn't come from like a terrible background where I've been very fortunate where I understand some kids need that money quickly. So I would say it's different for every kid and, everyone has to probably look at it themselves and what their families and what's best. But I really can't imagine like if you had to quantify your Yale degree in like a monetary value, I don't think that would be less than $1 million, would it?
I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. So like, even if a school's offering you $1 million to go play for them over an Ivy League school, I think that degree is worth a lot more money than however much they can offer you. So
tell me about this. This is something that has also come up sometimes and a question that's often asked. By playing football and being really good at a school, you have access to the whole network forever. And I don't know the answer to this, and I kind of feel like it's a load of crap. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, just because you have 1,000 yards, I'm sure the alumni are very happy about it. But like, just because in 10 years you had 1,000 yards 10 years ago and you want this job doesn't mean they're just going to hire you. Like, that's kind of my perspective versus like you mentioned, like the going to a great school like a Yale or another school, playing football there. You have access to the entire network because you're an alumni and like you actually like were a part of the community and involved in it.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily what you do on the field. I think what you do on the field might bring eyes to you. People might know your name, but I mean, I think everything boils down to just how you carry yourself as a person and, how you handle yourself and whatever goals you have. I think if you just want people to, give you handouts throughout the way, then I don't think that's ever going to work. But like I said, if you trust in yourself and you have some intention going into the Ivy League or going into whatever situation you're going into, I think you'll be successful. And I think it's just easier to be more successful coming from an Ivy League.
Break down to me a little bit about your experience playing Ivy football, level of comp versus bigger football. And then, let's start there. What was the difference between playing Ivy League ball, ACC ball?
Okay. So I'll break it down into two jumps because the Harvard to Duke jump was honestly it was definitely a jump because, everyone's a little bigger, faster, stronger. And across the board, everyone's just a little bit better. Like there's still a lot of really good players. I felt fully prepared going from the Ivy League to Duke because there's a ton of good players in the Ivy League. It's just across the board when if you were to match up like Harvard versus Duke, Duke's just like incrementally better across the board and would just, wipe them out. And then the jump from Duke to Miami was a big jump as well, because that's now everyone's even better and there's depth across the board. But going from Harvard to Duke, I don't think it was that much of a jump, to be honest. I think it was, you really definitely have to be disciplined and focused a lot more. And then, yeah, the competitiveness in practice was the biggest thing. Being at a place like Harvard, you don't really have to compete that hard every day in practice because, being a receiver in the Ivy League, I feel like you would get one or two bad corners every game. And I know you're not really getting any of those in the Ivy League, or sorry, in the ACC. So yeah, I'd probably say the depth piece and then really the mindset. Sorry, I don't know why I didn't say that earlier. That's the number one thing that I noticed. Where in the Ivy League, like I said, a lot of kids have other, like sectors of life that they're going to be successful in. A lot of kids that even are like dedicated to football, they still think they're going to go into other, job. They're going to go into finance or whatever that might be. So they're not necessarily like the mentality that they take in football is not like this is how I'm going to become successful. Versus you jump up to the next level and that's what everyone thinks. Mm-hmm. So everyone's studying more film, everyone's working out harder, everyone's practicing harder, which just makes you, evolve into that environment. And that was probably what's best for me. I also think NIL has changed me in a good way. I think that just being paid to do this is it makes you think of it as a job, and I think you'd think of it more professionally. Versus at Harvard, you kind of just show up to film and joke around and blah blah blah. Versus if like I feel obligated to give it all my all, which of course I gave it my all at Harvard, but now it's just an extra step. And yeah, I think at a place like in the Ivy League, you have to really put in a lot of extra work by yourself, which was difficult to be disciplined enough. In my mind, it was always, I was wondering what they were doing at these programs because I knew they were going to be working harder than us. So I honestly think that helped me a little bit where I was always wondering, well, a receiver at Miami, let's just say, is probably working a lot harder to me in practice. So I have to work that much harder than him outside of practice to make up for it. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I would say about the Ivy League is that you definitely have to put in your own work outside of team activities versus when you come here or come to a bigger level that I think the team makes you put in all the they work you so hard that I think it would not be that smart to keep working outside of the facilities or outside of team time. So yeah, I think it changed a little bit for me in that sense of the mindset.
What was the experience like as a student athlete at Harvard? For me being at a different school for 4 years. How was that time?
I loved it. I mean, I met probably the best friends that I'll ever make for the rest of my life there. I don't want to keep saying it, but yeah, you're surrounded by such great people.
And were those friends for you? Were those people who were in football or outside of football?
Mainly in football, but there were a lot of outside football kids too. It's just I think every Ivy League has a small enough class that and the social scene is small enough that the kids you meet are, I mean, you forget, but the kids that get into Yale that don't play football got into Yale. Mm-hmm. So Thanks. Everyone that got in is very, very cool in their own remark. Mm-hmm. And that's just really cool. I never thought of that going in because, as a high school kid, I'm not thinking about the cool friends I'm going to meet. I'm just going to play football. But looking back after, 3 or 4 years of a great time, you just, not only you meet kids that you would never meet that are doing other fun things, but you also meet very affluent kids, like kids from New York and kids that you never really get to meet, which is a really cool experience for me.
Is there anything that as you look back now towards the end of your college football career and your last season now, that you think you would have wished you've known to do differently or just like kind of make even better about your own journey and your own, I guess, ability?
That's a great question. I'd say I do wish I worked harder in the beginning part, like my freshman and sophomore year. I think freshman year I came and in the Ivy League we have a short summer camp. We don't really have summer football, and you couldn't enroll early, so I didn't have any spring football to earn a spot. So you come in and you have like a week and a half or 2 weeks to try to take a spot, which is pretty impossible. So after I knew I wasn't going to start or play much, and I did want a redshirt, but you're also a freshman in college. You're kind of just having fun with your friends you're just making. But I think, comparing that to a place like Miami or Duke, that these freshman kids are working just as much as I am now. but they're freshmen. So I think I might have lost a little bit of time goofing around freshman and sophomore year, but I also think that's part of the Ivy League experience. I think that you go to an Ivy League not just for the long-term success or not just for to transfer for football. You go to an Ivy League to experience like a once in a lifetime type of experience. And I think that's necessary to grow. Like I feel like I grew so much just by being at a place like Harvard and being surrounded by different types of people where it shows you that life is not linear. It's not
Hmm.
it's not like binary where all I care about is football. There's so many other interests that I gained throughout my time at an Ivy League.
Hmm.
And I think kids probably wouldn't really value that unless they go to a place like that.
That's fair. What do you think about the path to the NFL? If you're drawing this path to the NFL for a kid, he's a freshman. He's like, listen, like this dude got NFL talent, and he's at UPenn.
Hmm.
And truthfully speaking, he could take either route. He can do 4 years at UPenn, or he can do the three and try to transfer. Like, what are you recommending to a kid who's trying to make it happen and has the talent to?
To me, I kind of hedged my bet because I wanted to have that. Hopefully, they pass the 5 for 5
Yeah,
with the NCAA rule. That would definitely help a lot of that Ivy League, and I think that would be great for the Ivy League, just getting more recruits
yeah,
because they have that extra year. I would say, if possible, hedge your bet. Like, why not be on track to graduate, to be able to go play at a bigger school? Because I would say, I would almost argue it's easier to go to the NFL from an Ivy League. And I know it sounds a little backwards, but you
mm,
just, I think you can showcase your talent more.
mm,
But with that being said, there is some cons to it because just the investment that these schools spend on you with your nutrition and, everything that comes with being at a bigger program definitely develops you quicker.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, I think you'll probably know by like sophomore, junior year if you're really killing it and you have a chance to go to the NFL, then absolutely take that.
Yeah. You made a good point about I guess there's something to be said for it. Like being in the Ivy League and playing at a smaller school, even like FCS football in general, maybe even lower FBS, playing at a school that's worse may give you more exposure to the right people. I guess at
Hmm.
like a school like Alabama, you're getting exposure to fandom, ESPN.
Absolutely.
But the scouts who know ball and are watching, by being an opportunity just like to show out every Saturday and get 100+ yards, it in a way gives you more exposure and access to coaches who may not have seen you if you're a rotational player at Texas.
Hmm.
So I guess that's a really good point that is not thought about a lot. That going to a smaller school gives you the opportunity to ball out and then go up or try to make a path to the NFL.
For sure. I think honestly that what I yeah we were just talking about. I saw that and I realized that in high school when I was at Mater
Mm,
Dei, there were a ton of kids that were complete Division 1 talents and they just didn't play. And they ended up transferring their junior senior year to a lower school and they just didn't ever get any recognition. Where I was like, if you started out at a lower school, you would have been killing it. You would have had 30 offers by now.
mm.
But you're at this big school behind a bunch of 4 and 5 stars. It's just difficult to, and it's the same thing in college.
Yeah, yeah. I would love you to break down a little bit about this now, just like mentally. You've had a lot of success, and you're continuing to seemingly get better, grow as an athlete, and obviously as a person, because mentally you've had to make these tough decisions. Where do you draw back, I guess, and credit this from? Is it like you got a ton of confidence in yourself and your ability? You've grown up in this family that's rooted you in this thought. Like, kind of where did all this come from? A lot of kids are struggling with this. They don't trust themselves to make these decisions. A lot of kids, I'm not going to put my bet on myself and go to Harvard and try to get an offer. But you've had unrelenting trust and just commitment to this. Like, where does that come from?
I would say it definitely stems from my parents. I've had I'm really blessed to I have phenomenal parents. They've been with me every step of the way, and they have never judged or pushed me in any one direction. I feel like some parents might want to, push their own agenda onto their kid or have their own opinions. And my parents they'd wait to step in until I'd really ask for their opinion. And, in a good way, they wouldn't want to, like, my dad never was trying to get me to go to UCLA, for example, just because he went there.
Yeah.
And I think that was always super helpful to me. They always trusted in me and I'm also I like to talk and think about things. So I think I would just discuss for hours and hours with my sister or my friends or my family. And I think, what it really boils down to is, yeah, you got to have trust in yourself. And I don't think I've ever thought of it like that. I definitely don't like think of myself that highly or in a bad way. But um, yeah, I think if you're a person that's getting recruited by an Ivy League school for football, I think you're a person that you've been successful throughout your life. And I think a lot of people, especially when they get to bigger stages in life, they think that that's going to somehow change, that they're going to not become successful just because they keep climbing. But if for me, the way I looked at it, especially, I was pretty, frankly, I was a little worried leaving Harvard to go to Duke because I was foregoing my senior year and like guaranteed touches and being the guy to walk into a place that I've never been before and possibly end my career. Because if I didn't do well there, I kind of would have just withered out. But if I've been successful my whole life, why would that change just because I'm going to a bigger stage? I think if you're going to push yourself to go to that stage, I think you're going to work harder, of course, because you're going to be surrounded by people that work harder. Yeah, I wish people trusted in themselves more in that regard.
Number one, your best attribute as an athlete, is it more mentally or is it more a physical attribute that you have?
I would probably say physical. I'm not the fastest dude. I think I'm pretty fast, but yeah, I think I move I move pretty well. But I do think my mental side is, especially coming into transferring and coming to a big school, that's big. The coaches really want to trust you. So if you know your plays, and it's hard to learn a new playbook like quickly. So I think kids that come from the Ivy League. I also think I know I'm going off a little tangent,
You're
but
good.
another benefit the Ivy League gives you, I feel like that in class they really make you think. I feel like, I mean, I'm sure you can speak for yourself, but I feel like I grew a lot as a learner. I always liked learning, I guess, but I was never a school guy in high school. I would always kind of shy away from homework or do the bare minimum that I could. But I feel like going to a place like Harvard made me love learning even more. And I think that carries out into football. So I think that definitely helps my mental side of it.
What advice do you have for a younger kid entering this new world of high school, college recruiting? You're a rising senior and you have all of these lucrative deals in front of you. You know, what, how do you've had the opportunity, I guess, through obviously just your growth, to have, I guess, the mental capacity to think about these things in a very mature way.
Hmm.
One of the things that's just very true about people is that they're not developed at that stage of 17. And if you've never seen money before, if you don't know about the way college works, and you have a lot of coaches who are basically car salesmen, can sell you this pipe dream about what your experience would be at the University of Arkansas or Ole Miss. Like, what are some things you need to think about, to be aware of, to make sure you make the best decision for yourself?
So in that article that I don't know if it was we were recording, but you referenced, there's a portion of it that my dad mentioned that I do remember very vividly as a kid. We were at a NFL, I think it was a Chargers game maybe when I was very young, and we were talking. I wanted to be the quarterback because they get to touch the ball all the time. We were talking about the best positions and the best person on the field. And I kept saying, "Oh, I asked my dad, what did he think?" And I kept asking him, like, the quarterback or the receivers or the running backs. Then he said no, and he pointed up at the press boxes and he said, "That's the best guy out here," and it was the owner. And he said, "That's the best person to be." So I know there might be a lot of money getting thrown at some of these kids, and it might look like a lot of money. Like coming from high school, if you were to offer me 70 grand, I'd be like, "Are you kidding me? Did you
Yeah.
go and on top of a scholarship and play my dream at big time football?" Where I mean, I promise, if you just delay gratification quite a bit, and go to an Ivy League school and see what doors open for you, I think you'll be very grateful to your younger self if you make that decision.
That's fire. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. Anything else you got?
No,
Man, that was
I like
fire.
chopping it up with you, man.
This was great. This was great. I really appreciate it, bro. And your insight is real cool. It's funny because like, randomly making. I'm happy I made the video because I don't think we would have gotten in touch otherwise. But bro, like seriously, I think
Yeah.
it's admirable to look at to just like put the path down on paper. And I hope you spend some time to like, I guess, appreciate what you've been able to do. But I mean, it's a cool thing, be able to in 5 years, Harvard, Duke, Miami, now have a chance to compete for a national championship. Like that's really cool stuff. And I mean, congratulations to you, man. It's gonna be fun watching you this year.
Thank you very much. And seriously, well, I'm very grateful for what you're doing for both the Ivy League athletics and everything you're doing on social media. It's really cool to see, and I'm happy for you too.
Thank you, bro. Well, hey, go ahead, give us the outro for this episode. You got it.
What do you usually say? Do
Whatever
you
you
usually
want, bro.
say,
This is the first episode that's dropping. This is a new podcast. Whatever you want. I'm gonna
well,
let the guests do the outro,
Harvard hasn't beat Yale in what is it, 5 years or
bro.
4 years?
I mean, did you beat Yale? What you wouldn't beat?
Nope, I didn't beat Yale one time.
Does that bother
And
you?
then I left, and then they still lost to Yale
Does that
last
bother
year.
you at all, or no?
I mean, yeah, it does. Yeah, I'd say so. But
I forget who it was, but I think one of my teammates told me they ran into one of these Harvard guys when they're out, and they're like, a lot of the guys like they're one of the things that they're most mad about in life is not beating Yale, and I was like, I didn't know that. Like, obviously, I know Yale Harvard's a big rivalry, but I didn't know
yeah,
it's a I didn't know is one that
I
like
mean, dude, to beat a team in the Ivy League for 4 years, I don't even know if I beat a team or if Harvard's beat a team for maybe like Cornell or one of those
maybe,
teams, but like to beat a team in the Ivy League for 4 straight years is
especially because you guys
that's a
are
beatdown.
consistently sharing the title with us. So
I know,
it's not like
telling
it's not like
every
Harvard's three
game.
and six. It's like all right, we're both gonna share the title. It's just like all right, we're playing
Literally.
against each other. I don't know what the hell it is to be very honest with you. It's like we go in like this year specifically. I got hurt, so I wasn't playing, but I'm watching. I'm like,
Mhm.
you guys are good. Like they looked good this year, and
But you guys just always end up playing better. I'm telling you.
yeah. I guess
And
what do you think the FCS? What do you think about the FCS playoffs? I didn't get to ask you that.
I like it. I think that also helps recruiting for the Ivy League. But um, I mean, you guys had a hell of a comeback that this
Did
year.
you watch the Montana State game,
I tried to. We were playing, but I
bro?
wait the Montana versus. Oh wait, you guys wait.
When we played Montana State in the playoff.
No, actually, I thought you were talking about Youngstown State, the
Oh
one where
yeah,
you
that
when
was
you won.
crazy. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
But Montana
No, I
State,
didn't. I
bro,
didn't.
it was crazy because I mean, yes, we lost and everything, and it's you sound like a sour person saying we should have won, but like you're going to play a team that's always considered the best in the FCS, so you're
Hmm.
thinking as an individual that we got no chance,
Yeah,
just because like when the playoffs first happened, people in the locker room they were kind of like mad. They're like, I can't go home for Thanksgiving. Like I gotta travel
I'm
to
sure. Yeah.
Ohio. Like what the hell is going on? Like we're not winning a national championship. Like that's
Yeah.
really what people thought because we're the Ivy League. We can't hoop. And then after Youngstown State come back, I think the confidence came in. And then bro, Montana State, like we were right there with them the whole game. I think we led in total yards. We led in kind of most of the stats. The only problem is we turned the ball over.
Yeah.
And we forced a fumble on them in the end zone, and they recovered it for a touchdown. Like it was just like small things like that. And
Hmm.
I mean, their stadium was rocking. I never seen a stadium like Harvard Yale has more people, but
Yeah.
Montana State, it was rocking, bro. It was
It,
crazy.
it meant something to him.
Yeah, it really did. It really did. Go ahead with the outro, bro. My bad.
All right. Let me think about this for a minute. I'd say to any of you out there that are thinking and worried about your future and what you should do next, I think you can never go wrong with going to an Ivy League school,
Hmm.
playing your dream sport, and working towards your dream of either playing in the NFL or playing big time college football. And I think that the way you look at yourself in your state right now, if you're a high school football player, I think that you will be very proud of the confident young man that you grow into by going to an Ivy League school. So I'd say so.
Bars. Thank you for listening. Subscribe.
Yeah.
Bang.